Okay. Hi, welcome to Industry Insights. I'm your host, Tom Betts. And today, my very special guest is going to be art director Claudio Campana. So welcome to the show, Claudio. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with a slightly tougher question, and then we'll move on to the easy questions. So
Sure.
I have this quote from Stuart Craig, who I think you know.
Great designer. Yes.
Yeah. So he has a quote which is that design has very little realism. So what does that statement mean to you?
Ooh, yeah, well, from my point of view, I guess because what we build is meant to look real, but it's not real.
Yeah.
That's how I could summarize. Really, it's it's just we recreate environments, but they're not. They're not real. They were meant to be real. So we trick the audience to believe that they're real, but they're not.
I will take that. I'll accept that as an answer.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first film you ever saw, or the first piece of work you ever saw that really made you consider the work of an art director, or that as a profession?
There's been a few, but one in particular actually is I was lucky to be taken part to Alexander the Great,
Right.
the Oliver Stone project. I was employed. We went to Morocco to study. It's one of my best experience.
Right.
True,
Okay.
because I was overseeing the construction. I did some preliminary drawing, and I was overseeing the construction of a Greek amphitheater
Right.
by the beach in Morocco, built on location. So we built an amphitheater with a village. And I was there on my own, overseeing that construction as an art director. I started on that job. I was employed as a draftsperson.
Yeah.
When we went over to Morocco, then they say, we want you to be the assistant art director on this project. It was my very first time that I understood the transition between a draftsperson to an art director, because I was, as an assistant art director, sort of in the middle. You sort of you oversee the construction, and by doing that, the word director, you direct, because the drawing is one thing, but they can be interpreted and and make some adjustments on the spot. Plus, on location, you got a bit of freedom to make things fit with the landscape.
Yeah.
And we did lots of work, half drawn and half on the spot, and that's one of the and then the results come out sort of nice project, and I said, oh yeah, I think I can carry on and do this as a profession.
Great.
Yeah.
And what kind of projects have you been working on since? What are the kind of things you've been doing since then?
It depends. How far back do we go?
Well, let's say from Alexander, like you work
Alexander
on
Great,
films and TV.
Actually, films and TV. You don't really sort of choose. You can't really, when you have finished one project and you're available, and then you see what's out there at the time. So I worked on Troy, 102 Dalmatian, in different roles.
Right. Okay.
In different roles, and because Batman Begins.
Oh yeah,
that was
great.
a nice project I worked on. The Nutcracker recently.
Yeah.
King Arthur, and again on different roles. Some role as an art director. Sometimes you approach a person and say, I'm an art director, but then sometimes if there is a new designer, he has his own art director, so you just sometimes not always the same position, it's offered to you. So
okay.
That's
great. And so you mentioned the Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
Yes.
This was a big project for Disney, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic project. The variety of sets, and for people seen the film, is the colourful as well. The designer was very sort of particular on the look of it and the colour, and then we just help to sort of build his vision.
Right. I think we've got sort of a little film about your work on that film. So here we go now.
this was the elevation that I gave to the concept artist.
Right.
The concept artist works very closely with the designer. In this case, some designer sort of has a different approach.
Yeah.
But because there's so many detail and different colors, so this was to give this to the painters.
Yeah.
So once the set, then we know the set is the shape is going to look like that, and at least the painters has a
Real full description.
this description. So what roughly what color?
Yeah.
Look at the detail, yeah. So that was just a start. Those are tile. I'm very proud of those. Those are a modular tile that then they generate. So this is the
plaster.
The plaster. Very again, very good craftsmen to produce that, and then they make mold and repeat. Yeah. So that's a nutcracker.
Amazing.
There you go. I mean, that looks very impressive. That's a hugely
was.
detailed job. Some of the films in the projects you mentioned, like these are very well-known films. I mean, and there's historical, there's fantasy, there's a wide variety.
Yeah.
Where do you draw your inspirations from, and do you have any influences from your travels or your, to other cultures?
Absolutely. Well, yes. I mean, it depends. Yeah, it's from books, but it's true. Any travel help also is another way of get inspiration. Whenever I go to a new country, I always look at the architecture, the details. Always drawn in architecture to look at the architecture and understand architecture. I'm interested in the architecture in general, so you do need to have an interest in architecture to because what we do is reproducing architecture, really.
Of course.
So that's mainly
right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, if they're watching TV while we're recording this, well, not at different times, they'll be enjoying the His Dark Materials TV adaptation on BBC and HBO.
Yes.
Obviously, that's an invented world. But what are some of the challenges working on that project?
Well, the challenge is really at the same time what opportunity to produce the variety of sets that we had to build, and and also. There's many sets, but the variety of different styles. From I was in charge of art director set, which is Coulter's apartment, and that was actually it's a set. It's meant to be is an apartment meant to be in London. It's slightly art deco, and then from there, the next set on the same series was a lab on top, perched on top of a rock. Which is completely different architecture, so it was actually an opportunity to put all our experience and sort of a challenge to on this project.
No, it's brilliant, and I mean, and that was
with the vision of the designer. We have we have a good, very very sort of a nice good designer, Joe Collins, who gives us the input of his vision, and we help to put his vision into a real space. Right.
And so that project was largely filmed in Cardiff and
in Cardiff, yes.
Does it feel like it's a good place to make films and TV?
Very, absolutely. The facilities, it was really good space, nice people to work with, and they're all very enthusiastic and very helpful, and very, very skillful as well. Yeah, the craftsmanship was very good. Yeah.
Brilliant. And this is going to be a tough question just because it's a short question. If you had to give one bit of advice, or there was one quality in someone starting out in the industry, what would be a great thing?
It varies. To be honest, there's lots of. The more you can do in an art department, the better it is actually, because it varies from drawing to model making to do a survey of a building, a location. There's not one specific. I would just focus on one project at a time.
Yeah.
And then whenever you've been given an opportunity, just give you 100% on that project. And it doesn't matter how big or small task you've been asked to do, just focus on that. And if you do it a nice job, I'm sure you'll get another call for the next project.
Brilliant. No, that is great advice to end on. We've just got one last tradition. So at the end of the show, we've got a little wall here with the autographs of all our guests from this series. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us your signature on one of these film reels, then that'd be great.
Yes,
so here we
sure,
go.
absolutely.
There should be a hidden pen just there. Brilliant.
Okay.
There you go, we've got a little hole in the wall for you there. That's great. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm hugely impressed with your work, so thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.